We thought this format could be useful for us because we get to experience the work together and to play and to not have to drive somewhere, or we can just be as we are here, and we can learn together and play together and ask some questions and be inspired and commune. So without further ado, I think we should just start to move and explore a little bit, and I'll lead you through a guided movement exploration, and you can interpret this in any way that you feel ready to, however big or small. And we're going to start today with sensing where we are in our body and in our space. And how do we feel? And how much space do we inhabit? How much volume do we take up right here and right now? How much expansive energy do we communicate to the world around us? How much do we draw inward energy into our center? And we can connect with you. The breath supports you, and you inhale and exhale in any way that makes sense to you, and you can begin to mobilize in any way that feels really refreshing to you. We're going to inhale and exhale and begin to reach out into the space, and then draw your space inward, and do this many, many times. Let it be simple. Let it be complex. Whatever your body needs to feel the edges of yourself right now. You right as you are this evening, in all of your glory and in all of your hot mess. Right? Everything that is you is invited to this moment. Beautiful, beautiful. And you can arrive in a small and flexed shape. So we're going to be flexed here. And notice where the breath goes. Where does the breath fill this shape? How does it enter into the body? Where does it find little niches? And then expanding wide, long, deep, and noticing where the breath goes here. How does the breath fill this shape, or fill this experience of length, width, depth? And continue to just open and close the body. Open and close the body. Explore different body parts that open and close. And you can mirror anyone you see in the space that's doing something that looks like, oh, that looks luscious. Let's put that inside my body. Mm. Oh, I like this spiraling and flexing, spiraling, extending, spiraling and flexing, spiraling and extending, spiraling, flexing, spiraling and extending, spiraling, flexing. Maybe you want to change orientation to gravity. Maybe you want to change and be on the floor and have those legs do something in the air. Flexing and extending and flexing and extending. I like the couch dance. Flexing and extending and flexing and extending. And then what about just the right side of your body? How does just the right side body flex and extend and flex and extend? And a few more and extend and flex and extend. What about the left side of your body? Flex and extend. Yeah, I can get that. And flex and extend. Ooh, back body flexion and extension. I like that too. All of these options of opening and closing, separating and joining, lengthening and shortening, deepening and condensing. So, what's Michael doing? How does he like to live in extension? Oh. Let's go to Karen. Can you lead us for a few moments? Flexion and extension in the space. And Teresa. And Kim. Wearing the black sweater. Becoming bigger, becoming smaller, reaching out, drawing in. And Amber. And Brittany. And Georgina, Gina. Muy bien. Y corazón, corazón, can you describe a little bit of movement and we'll listen and we'll interpret?
Yes, I'm following a curving pathway with my left arm, reaching out, following a curving pathway, and my right arm is going to do a zigzag pathway with a curving pathway, reach out movement. My hips are simply waving around. Oh my God, you're doing this like almost like I'm doing this. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. And just close your eyes and come to a moment of stillness in any place that feels right to you right now. It can be simple, it can be pedestrian, it can be dancey, it can be whatever. And does everybody have a pen and a paper?
Yes.
Handy? I would love for us to take the next 3 minutes to jot down some reflections on your sense of moving out into the world or coming into yourself. So the idea, anything surrounding the idea of expanding and contracting, of extending and of drawing in, of lengthening and shortening. How are you widening your experience? Or what might be widening, or what might be narrowing, what might be separating, what might be joining, what might be unfolding, or what might be folding, what might be releasing outward, extending, expanding, and what might be contracting inward. Just where are you? And you can take this in any capacity. So I know that most of us, if not all of us, are teachers, but just focus on you as a student. Kind of be selfish right now and really think about how these ideas live in your body. Another couple minutes, another 2 minutes. You might also reflect on this experience and how it might feel in yourself, or reaching out, or connecting outward, or connecting inward. Last minute to jot down a final idea, right? Just when you think you've said everything you need to say, there might be one more thing, right? What's that next thing? Just blurt it out on the page, right? That next thing. But all right, so we all have something written down. So what I'd like to invite you to do now is we're going to go into a breakout room. So a breakout room is when, they're so fun. So I have assigned you to small groups. And when I hit the breakout room, you will be assigned to your small groups. And I would like for you to just reflect for a few moments about your writing sample. And you'll only be in the breakout room for about 3 to 4 minutes. So make sure everybody has about a minute to share. You know, if you'd like to do 30 seconds and then share as a group, that's a possibility. You can organize a little bit amidst yourselves to serve your needs. So you'll go into the breakout room and you'll just share something that came up for you right here and right now. You know, introduce yourselves to each other, and then I'll call you back. And I think there's a timer that says that your breakout room will close in a minute. So you'll have a minute warning to kind of wrap up if you have anything else that you need to say. So I think we're ready. Here we go. So, so this is who we are and how we are. So today's objectives, I thought we would review the language of dance, movement alphabet through a guided warm-up. So we did some of the movement alphabet concepts in our warm-up. We'll explore more specifically some flexion and extension. We'll apply it in making a short dance sequence, very short. We will reflect and share with a partner. My partner just arrived. And we will have group discussions about our dances, and then we'll have a little time for questions and answers. So we'll see if we get to everything, but we're gonna try. All right, so here we have our movement alphabet. And the movement alphabet, just as a reminder, is comprised of the primary actions of all movement. So we want to start thinking about movement and dance, right, as a way of being and a way of existing. So, for instance, motion, or an action that results in something, or an action that is about the goingness versus the idea of being still, and the idea of flexing and drawing in versus the idea of opening into extension or growing, the idea of rotating on an axis, the idea of traveling. So it's the big picture concepts that we're playing with, and then their interpretation can be individualized and made unique and personal and meaningful. So as an example, today we're going to look just at the ideas of flexion and extension, and we'll add in a little bit of stillness there too, because it creates a little bit of variety. But this idea of becoming smaller or getting bigger, growing, and how that feels for us, and ways that we tend to do it, habit patterns that exist in our movement preferences that kind of lead us to maybe do the same things over and over, and then ways we might be able to break that habit or notice that pattern and then refine it in ways that are meaningful. So we might come back to this movement alphabet as a whole in another session, but I thought we would start with just a couple concepts today. So introducing flexion and extension. So flexion, right? I like to think of arrows all pointing to the center, kind of coming in. So if I'm in a big X and I zoom it into my tiny self, it's that act of flexing, act of contracting, shortening, joining. And then extension, extending out. I think of lengthening that end from a zigzag to a straight line if I were going to unfold it. So anyway, these are just a couple little mnemonics that I like to use, but we're going to play with these concepts. Now, as a reminder, the small tilde symbol is an ad lib or an any symbol, and that says that there's lots of room for interpretation. There's lots of room for interpretation in terms of what body part, whole body part, or whole body, body part, parts, sections of the body, degrees. We're gonna leave things pretty much wide open today. All right, then we have stillness. Yeah, I just realized my internet. Am I back? Hello? Yeah. So then we have stillness, and stillness is that moment of cadence, of coming to an end in some way so that something new can begin. So we want to think about stillness as a comma or as a period in a movement sentence or a movement idea. Now, it's the existence of being. So it can happen abruptly or it can happen gradually as you settle into something. But then we exist and we live in that space for a period of time. So next we need to put these ideas in a sequence. So we have the vertical staff. And our vertical staff is indicated by a double bar line that starts at the bottom of the staff or the bottom of the screen here. And then we would read upward until we reach the top double bar line. So in this instance, I haven't decided to put meter. I haven't told anything about time. I'm just saying this is going to be our sequence starting from bottom to top. And then we put them together and we create a sequence. So if you work from bottom to top, we have our extension, followed by a flexion, followed by a stillness, followed by extension, another extension, flexion, extension, and stillness. Now we don't know timing. I haven't indicated timing here. I've just given the most basic of sequences. Are there any questions about how to read the score from the bottom to the top? I just want to make sure I haven't left anybody behind. So if you are brand new to LOD, Brittany, I can't remember how much experience you've had. I think maybe a little bit.
Yes, I'm actually in my class right now. We've actually been discussing this for a couple weeks.
Okay, so this is just going to be a deepening experience then, and everyone else is on board. Yeah, you can give me like a thumbs up, and I can kind of know. All right, yeah, I got a couple of them. Okay, so next, go back to your writing and notice any themes or maybe the discussion you had with your group in the breakout room, and start to reflect on themes or imagery or situations that maybe came up for you, just bubbled up naturally, and start to interpret this sequence in your own timing with the flavoring of your writing. So it doesn't even have to be directly related to what you wrote about, but it's going to be informed maybe by what you wrote about. So we'll take 5 minutes and generate something for yourself that feels interesting, or that poses a question for you, or just rewarding, like, oh, if this feels really good to move this way, or this is what my body needs for a little bit of therapy, or this is what my brain needs for a little bit of therapy. So you're creating a sequence that's going to make you, it's going to give you a little bit of what you need right now. So personalize it for yourself. Any questions before we begin, or you can give me a thumbs up if you feel ready. I got a couple thumbs up. I got thumbs up. I got lots of thumbs up. And I'm going to guess corazon is thumbs up. Okay.
Yes. Sorry about that. Yes.
That's okay. So take 5 minutes and generate something on your own. I was thinking about music, but sometimes music gets a little bit wonky with the streaming. So I'm just going to let us be in silence. And if you have verbalization that becomes part of your dance, that's also welcome and can be incorporated. So we'll begin. maybe consider a new facing, even though we have our screen, right? You don't have to face the screen. So you might explore where you want to be in relationship to the screen. Try it once or twice more and solidify something. It might be good for all of us to write it down just to notice what that feels like. You know, if it feels familiar, notice, oh yeah, this is really familiar. Or if it feels sort of like, oh yeah, oh, I'm still a little clunky. Or why don't mine look as good as they do on the screen? You know, how clear is clear enough to be legible for you? How clear is clear enough to be legible for another person? Yeah. Post it. All right, I'm going to stop the share and begin.
I was just noticing watching them that some of us had different ways of interpreting stillness from others. So I just thought that could be something interesting to think about or play with or something like that.
Mm.
Yes, I think that's a beautiful thing to always look at. Remember, stillness is honored like silence is honored in music. So that moment where you are still in the dance, you're living the dance, you're being exactly as it is. It has a life of its own without action. So it's alive and not moving. So just kind of play with that and notice how long does it take to honor that for the phrase to come to completion. So how does your phrasing and performance cycle through those different stillnesses? So I'm going to move you back to the breakout rooms.
What do you want us to do in breakout rooms this time?
I know. What I was hoping is that you would watch each other again and call out when you saw the extension and when you saw the flexion as just a practice with the language. So you're observing and witnessing and speaking, practicing the terminology, flexion and extension, just those big umbrella terms, so that they become really ready, at the ready, when you see those ideas in action. And so we can do that. We can also talk about stillness. And then after you've witnessed each of the participants, then you can share for a few moments about how it may have related to your writing and or any of the thematic stuff that's coming up for you. Maybe something you referenced earlier in your breakout room. So we'll talk about those things. And I'm going to join breakout room number 3 since we don't seem to have Gina anymore. So I'm going to open all the rooms, share your dance, and have a mini discussion surrounding what comes up. So I would like to invite us to perform our dance one more time all together, just so we can feel our sensations, maybe keep one eye on the screen. And since we did see everyone's, we'll then take a minute to do a movement response after, just so we can, yes, Michael.
Request. Do you think we could see one breakout room at a time and do the movement response? So see just 3 people do their dances and do a quick response?
Perfect. Yeah, that'll be great. That'll be great. So let's have the breakout room with Amber, Brittany, and Teresa. We'll have you move and then we'll do a little response with movement. 30 seconds of a response. 30 seconds, just a few ideas. And rest. Okay, Karen, Kim, and Megill. All right, and 30 seconds. Yay. All right. May and I, and Corazon, if you'd like to talk through yours, you can as well.
All right. Reaching out with my left arm, flexing my right knees on my spine, going into stillness and relax. Lifting both arms, reaching out to the other direction. Relaxing the spine, extending over.
All right, and a 30-second response. To wrap up, I had a couple questions that I'm gonna throw out there, and if one of them catches your attention, we'll open it up for a little bit of group discussion in these final, we'll use about 7 minutes for a group discussion, then we'll wrap up with 3 minutes of like, okay, how did we feel like this went? And what do we like? And what do we want more of? And maybe this was weird or whatever. So we'll do a little breakdown. But my reflection prompts are, what was new for you in today's session? What did you find most interesting or meaningful? How might you reframe today's experience for your sector? What questions do you still have about what we covered today? And what do you see as a possible next step, new inquiry, new application?
It's Karen.
Oh, Karen, sorry, I didn't see your hand. I'm like scanning the screen.
I teach in an elementary school full-time. So I do similar things to this with kindergarten and first graders. And then second and third graders, I have them applying it more to different dances. So anyway, the piece that I wouldn't be able to do is obviously the writing. They can't write yet. But we do talk through things, and I love the breakout groups. And they also divide into small groups to create their own phrases. So the fact that, you can do it as adults and you can do it as children. One thing I really loved was the movement response. So often we use a verbal response or a written response, or just audience, thumbs up or this. But really doing that movement response, I thought was very powerful.
That's all Megill.
I'll jump in, and I'm, after teaching high school for many years, teaching adults. And so helping them to sort of integrate their cognitive awareness of their feelings with their actual physical awareness of their bodies. And so the writing is a great idea. We have sketchbooks in the dance collaborative that I established, so they could easily do that. And I just hadn't thought about saying, oh, we're gonna have those sketchbooks right nearby, and we're gonna move and write, move and write, move and write. We normally write, then we move, and then we write at the end. But I might just have it be a little bit more of a capture of what they're experiencing in the moment. So appreciated that.
I found it really meaningful and interesting how the score you gave stimulated the choreographers, myself included, and the process and freedoms that we were able to take with the structure of the score. So I really appreciated some of the differences that were in my trio, and noticing like that there was room to play around a lot. There's a lot of freedom for timing, and there was freedom to add in, you know, an extra flexion if we needed it because the dance called for it, and that there was also, you know, the writing and then kind of a kinesthetic response to the beginning of a dance, and just that it stimulated so many approaches to choreographing and was so liberating, really interested me.
Yeah, I also found that I had a lot of freedom and I wasn't feeling like I wanted to get out of the bed. So I choreographed in the bed. But I still got to, you know, expand and flex and do all those different movements. I feel like I teach community college, and I'm teaching a choreography and improv class this semester. So I think doing, having the dancers move, have a movement for reflection like we just did in this last section was really, could be useful.
I'm getting more and more interested in the psychological states, responses, experiences of the somatic idea. So I've been exploring, you know, what are the ways that I feel when I'm flexing, when I'm extending, and on different days and different circumstances and different contexts and the variety that exists, but it becomes a way for me to focus in. And I had this tree image, like symmetry. I was all about symmetry. I couldn't get away. I was like, I was right there. And I think that was, you know, it was, I was feeling a calling towards stability and equanimity. So that, that when I let myself just make a phrase out of that, that's what came, you know? And so that was fun for me to just let it happen. According to the sequence, but just without trying to turn it into something. Maybe one or two more, if there's anyone else who hasn't spoken.
No, I really appreciate having this opportunity to join the session and then be able to interact with each other, especially, you know, like as a big group, and also in a break room as a smaller group, having more in-depth discussion. And but I found that watching individually really give me a lot of inspiration on like how much the flexion and extension elements can explore too. And so it's just a wonderful stimulation to me.
I am very grateful for Beth for your invitation to reflect. Also, I love the languaging that you're using. I teach children also, but I'm also a somatic movement educator, and I'm also searching for ways to bring more somatics in my work with children. And today, many of the invitations that you offered gave me a good example of how to do that simply by the languaging of your invitation, the series of questions that you offered before we started writing. Those were wonderful. I can stay with those questions for a long time after today's experience because they're so rich. And the way you described flexion and just one detail of when you look at the symbol, at the motif, and you're thinking about from one point are you flexing in? That's something to explore. That's something that is inviting me to explore more deeply. This concept of flexion, which is already there, we can already continue searching and investigating what it means. So thank you very much. And I also felt super connected to everyone and I enjoy the movement of everyone. Sorry that I wasn't able to share my movement visually. So next time I will make sure I do that.
But there's a beauty that you spoke and that we were able to interpret through language, right? Because we learn how specificity of our language shapes our experience and shapes our knowing. So it's really, it was a lovely addition to all of the different angles at which language influences the action, influences the physical experience of it all. So it is 6:15, and I'm happy to stay on and take any questions that you guys have. But if you are needing to go, because this is our time, I want to honor that and let you sign off. So thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful that we had as much of a response as we did, and that I had as many people here and interested in the work. And you know, now that I know you all a little more, and you know, we can start to build on this, and maybe there's a cohort that meets regularly, and that cohort kind of continues and grows with these concepts. And then if another cohort wants to form, then another cohort forms, and they can, so that you can feel like, you know, maybe next time we explore forms of flexion and extension or something. So thank you if you need to sign off. And again, if you would like to stay and have a couple questions, I'm welcome and I'm happy to chat for another 15 minutes or so. Yeah.
Question.
May? Yes.
So maybe you want to share with the group about that score. So then they can have it too. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm wondering if I just take a little screenshot, if I can drop it in our chat. What do you think?
Go for it.
Well, if they want to print it out to show their classroom, then maybe like a Word document, whatever the software you draw on, it'll be much better.
Yes, I think what I can do as well is I have everybody's emails, so I can send it. I can send it via email. So I'll do that. Yes,
Perfect.
thank you, May.
Is this being recorded?
It is being recorded. So I'm not exactly sure how we're going to share it, but it has been recorded. And I think it might be useful. So what I'll do is I'm not sure exactly how or where we'll share it, but I know that there are interested parties who, for whatever reason, couldn't be here. So maybe that's our next question on terms of the technology, but
or the YouTube as a channel, like so you explore, like, you know, like more audience can watch this.
Yeah, I mean, I have my LOD and T channel, so we could either put it up there or put it up on the LODC channel. I think they have one, so we just need to make sure. Bye, Kim. But I just want to, make sure that the technology supports it.
What is your LOD channel?
Oh, I have a little channel. It's called LOD and Tea.
Like,
I sit at my kitchen table and drink tea. No, I barely drink because I'm talking the whole time. But what I do is I've introduced all of the movement and ways to think about them, or ways to explore them. So, and then now I'm going to get more into how you might write it, or how you might put it in a sequence. So I just introduced a staff in my last video and a sequence of four directional actions. And so I'm hoping to build more, but certainly if you would like me to do a video on something, I take requests, and really I'm doing it for you. Like, I'm not doing it for strangers, I'm doing it for you guys. So if there's something you need because of, oh my gosh, we faced this problem and we didn't know what to do, I'll give you my best take on it, you know, or at least my current thinking on it to the best of my ability. Certainly after I consult with Michael and Teresa, Susan and Tina, but yeah. So that's LOD and T on YouTube.
All right.
Silva, you had another question. Did you want to pose that now?
So yeah, it's but it's not, you know, I'm confused between the difference between meandering and travel any way you want to.
That's
It's two symbols.
So let me do another, I'm gonna do a quick screen share actually, just so that we can make sure that we're all on the same page for what those look like. So hopefully you guys see my screen. And here I have my pathways. So, and I'll make it larger in just a moment. Okay, so not the best rendition, but you see that there's the any ad lib symbol for the any form of traveling, and then the meandering symbol has these arrows. So that's the graphic difference between the two. And then the difference in intention has to do with making a specific choice. So if you see in any traveling, any pathway, it means you pick a pathway. You pick either a straight, a curved, a circling pathway, a zigzag pathway, or a meandering pathway. A meandering pathway is its own special intention, which is irregularity, is of unpredictability, of going haphazardly, maybe aimlessly, maybe different every time, and more than any single pathway would express. So you might go straight for a little bit and then curve for a little bit and then circle for a little bit and then zigzag for a little bit, and then you might, right, if we were to like break it down, but all of that minutia is just not needed, so we say meander. That is a curved pathway. So a curving pathway is a non-circular pathway that that makes arcs through space, usually kind of a wavy type of form, but not, you know, not necessarily a half circle, a half circle, a half circle, a half circle. So it would be could be a little more irregular in that curving.
Okay, because I use that book that for kiddos, the Travel Land.
Oh, okay.
And I'm gonna go back, and I think in that book they say this is meandering.
I'm not sure about that book.
Okay, I'm gonna check it.
But there
Pamphlet, isn't it?
there was a switch. There was a modification of the travel symbols at some point, maybe a few decades ago. So I don't know, maybe that was an old version.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the confusion is not unwarranted. You're not crazy.
Okay, I'm gonna, she's alive, she's alive, she's okay, she's okay.
Oh, I hear her. She's clearly alive. That's the good news.
Okay, it's dinner time. I'm gonna go. I'm so happy that it's recorded. I can't believe that I missed it.
No, there'll be more.
Okay, good.
Every month, there's another one.
Yay! All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you, Brittany. Bye, Silva. Bye, May.
Bye, Corazon.
Any other questions before I sign on? I just want to check. Brittany, how would you feel? Or any questions? Or I don't know you very well, so I thought.
Oh, no, I feel good. I took a lot of notes, and it was all really, really interesting. This has a lot to do with what we're doing right now in my dance in the secondary. So we're working with high school students, and then also for I teach at a studio right now. So this is all really, really made everything a lot more clear, and I've been able to connect the actual dancing to the symbols a lot more, which they've kind of been more separate up until now. So it's been really interesting to connect the two. I mean, I've done it a little bit before, but this was a really interactive experience, so helped me visualize a lot better.
Yay! Yeah, and I think that the graphic representation, right? It takes time to get into us.
Yeah.
So, but I try to share with people, I'm to the point where now when I see the graphic symbol, I can feel my body like live it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, and I think that with repetition and different explorations, I can see it, and then it translates into this like movement memory,
Yeah.
which is fun. So it sounds like you're starting to make that connection. It's very satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great.
So I want to ask Beth regarding your YouTube channel, the LOD.
Oh yeah.
So maybe then I'll go on to it and then view each subject and add on to our theory bulletin board. So when people coming in to the theory bulletin board, there'll be another way to explore it too.
Oh yeah, that would be great. Yeah. And it's really on the conceptual level. It's on the abstract level at this point. But my goal is to give people an inner experience and like an inner way of knowing these concepts, so that it can feel personal. Because I think that the worry is that sometimes when we meet it cognitively, we don't always integrate it, right? Cognitive, frontal lobe, So yeah, that would be great to share. All right. Okay, well, I think that's it for today. Have a lovely evening. Thank you for sharing your evening with me.
Thank you for hosting it, both of you.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. Okay, I'm gonna end it now. Bye.